Every dollar in your wallet is a lie, not a metaphor, not an exaggeration. Every single dollar was created out of thin air as someone's debt. Someone borrowed that dollar into existence, and someone is collecting interest on it right now. Debt creates money. You were taught that money represents value, that it's earned through hard work, that it's real. But what if the entire monetary system was designed, from the ground up, to transfer wealth from you to the people who control the printing press? Today, I'm going to show you exactly how money is really created, who profits from every dollar of debt, and why the system demands your financial servitude to survive. This is not conspiracy. This is accounting. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Debt is money. Here's a question most people never think to ask. Where does money actually come from? Most assume the government prints it. That's only about 3 to 5% of the truth. The vast majority of all money in circulation is created by commercial banks the instant they issue a loan. When a bank gives you a mortgage, it does not hand you someone else's savings. It types numbers into a computer screen. That money did not exist 5 minutes ago, and this isn't some fringe theory. In 2014, the Bank of England itself admitted it publicly. Whenever a bank makes a loan, it simultaneously creates a matching deposit in the borrower's bank account, thereby creating new money. Let that sink in. Banks create money. Every dollar circulating in the economy was once someone's debt. Your mortgage, your car loan, your credit card balance, that's not just your personal burden. Debt, it's the fuel that keeps the entire economic engine running. And the moment people stop borrowing, the whole machine starts to seize. But this system didn't appear by accident. Before 1913, the United States had no permanent central bank. The dollar was backed by gold. The government couldn't simply conjure currency whenever it pleased. Then, on December 23, 1913, while most of Congress was home for Christmas, the Federal Reserve Act was quietly signed into law, and everything changed. Despite what the name suggests, the Federal Reserve is not federal. It's a network of private banks operating behind a government-sounding label. It has never been fully audited in over 100 years of operation. The Fed sets interest rates, controls the money supply, and can create unlimited dollars with a single keystroke. Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws. When the Fed was created, the national debt stood at roughly $3 billion. Today it exceeds 34 trillion. Design, not accident. That explosion wasn't incompetence. The system was built to generate debt, because debt is how the banks that own the Fed collect their profits. Every dollar the government spends beyond what it collects in taxes must be borrowed at interest, and that interest compounds forever. Fractional fraud. Now here's where the illusion becomes truly staggering. Banks don't simply create money when they lend far more than they actually possess. This is called fractional reserve banking. Fractional. For decades, banks were required to keep roughly 10% of deposits in reserve. Meaning, for every $100 you deposited, the bank could lend out $900 that didn't exist. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. In March 2020, the Federal Reserve quietly reduced reserve requirements to 0%. Zero. Banks can now lend with absolutely no reserves at all. Your bank balance is just a promise, an IOU from an institution that has lent out vastly more than it holds. If every customer tried to withdraw their money simultaneously, the entire system would disintegrate within hours. The process by which banks create money is so simple that the mind is repelled. If this is starting to open your eyes to how the system really operates, hit like and subscribe to keep exposing what they hide, because what comes next ties all of this together. The banks know this fragility intimately. The regulators know it too, and they keep the game running because it serves them, not you. But the mathematics of this scheme conceal an even darker truth, the growth lie. Here's the mathematical problem nobody in power wants you to think about. If all money is created as debt with interest, where does the money to pay the interest come from? Consider it carefully. A bank creates $1,000 through a loan and charges 5% interest. The borrower now owes $1,050, but only $1,000 were ever created. That extra 50 simply does not exist. More debt required. The only way to pay that interest is for someone else to borrow new money into existence. And that new loan carries its own interest charge, which demands even more borrowing. This is precisely why the economy must grow perpetually, not because growth is natural or desirable, but because a debt-based money system collapses without it. Anyone who believes in indefinite growth on a physically finite planet is either a madman or an economist. Recessions are not accidents. They are mathematical certainties baked into a system that demands infinite expansion on a finite planet. Impossible. The music has to keep playing because the moment it stops, musical chairs begins. And there are never enough chairs. But who decided the rules of this game in the first place? Inflation, theft. Inflation is not a natural phenomenon. It's not weather. It's not fate. Inflation is a hidden tax designed to transfer wealth from savers to borrowers. And the biggest borrower on the planet is the government itself. When the Federal Reserve creates new money, it doesn't distribute it equally across the population. It enters the economy through banks and financial institutions first. Rich first, poor last. By the time that freshly created money trickles down to ordinary workers through wages, prices have already climbed. This is called the Cantillon effect, named after an 18th century economist. And it explains precisely why the wealthy grow richer during inflation while the middle class slowly gets destroyed. Your savings lose purchasing power every single year by deliberate design. In 1971, Richard Nixon severed the dollar from gold. Since that day, the dollar has lost over 97% of its purchasing power. Your grandparents weren't richer because they worked harder. They lived before the system was fully weaponized against them. 2% annual inflation means your money loses half its value every 36 years. That's not an economic accident. That's deliberate policy. And the architects of this policy have names. Who profits? Follow the money. Always follow the money. Follow the money. The 6 largest banks in America, J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley, control over 70% of all banking assets in the country. In 2023 alone, these 6 institutions collected more than $140 billion in net interest income. Billions. That's profit on money they conjured from nothing. They typed numbers on a screen, charged you interest for the privilege, and when you couldn't pay, they seized your house and your car. The modern banking system manufactures money out of nothing. The process is perhaps the most astounding piece of sleight of hand ever invented. But here's what seals the loop shut. The same banks that profit from this arrangement also fund the politicians who write the banking laws. The banks own the regulators, who are supposed to regulate the banks. The fox didn't just sneak into the henhouse. The fox designed and built it. It's a closed circuit of power, and you are standing outside of it. But the full weight of this arrangement is only now becoming impossible to ignore. The debt spiral. The United States national debt has blown past $34 trillion. Let that number settle in your mind. 1. Every American citizen owes over $100,000. 2. Annual interest payments now exceed the entire military budget. 3. The national debt doubles roughly every 8 years. 4. No plan exists to ever repay a single dollar of it. But here's the secret that no politician, left or right, will ever tell you publicly. The national debt was never designed to be repaid. Remember what we established. Money is created through debt. If the government somehow paid off all its obligations, there would be virtually no money left in circulation. The economy would implode overnight. Debt equals money. This is why every administration, Republican or Democrat, continues expanding the debt ceiling. They have no alternative. The system demands it. It is well enough that people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. And it's not just governments. Global household debt has surpassed $55 trillion. Student loans, mortgages, credit cards, all feeding the same machine. And what happens when this spiral reaches its breaking point? History repeats. Every debt-based monetary system in recorded history has ended the same way. Every single one. Collapse. The Roman Empire debased its currency by diluting silver coins with cheap metals. Within decades, the denarius lost 95% of its value. Trade dissolved. The empire fractured. Rome, Weimar America. Weimar Germany printed money to pay impossible war debts. By 1923, a loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. Citizens burned currency for warmth because it was cheaper than firewood. Zimbabwe followed the identical script in 2008. Venezuela in 2018. The pattern never changes. Debt, printing, inflation, collapse. And now the United States is executing the same playbook. Since 2008, the Federal Reserve has manufactured over $8 trillion through quantitative easing, $8 trillion from nothing. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. The average lifespan of a fiat currency, money backed by nothing but government promises, is 27 years. The current dollar system has been running since 1971. That's over 50 years on borrowed time. We're not approaching the cliff. We've already stepped off it. And the next evolution of this system might be the most terrifying yet. Cashless control. Central banks across the globe are now racing to develop central bank digital currencies, CBDC. This is the end game of monetary control. Over 130 countries representing 98% of global GDP are actively building digital currencies. China has already launched the digital yuan. Europe is developing the digital euro. The Federal Reserve is researching a digital dollar. Digital total control. On the surface, it looks like convenience. Faster payments, no physical wallets. But beneath that sleek interface lies something unprecedented in human history. Programmable money that can be tracked, restricted, and switched off. Imagine money that expires if you don't spend it fast enough. Money that refuses to purchase certain products. Money that freezes the moment you express the wrong opinion online. When you control the money, you control the people. When the money is digital, the control is absolute. Cash is anonymous. Cash is freedom. The day cash disappears, financial liberty dies with it. 1. Every transaction tracked permanently. 2. Spending restricted by government category. 3. Savings given expiration dates. 4. Accounts frozen without due process. Control. This isn't dystopian fiction. Prototypes are already running in pilot programs, but you still have a window to prepare. Break the chain. So what can you actually do when the entire system was engineered to harvest your productivity? Knowledge is power. First and most critically, understand that awareness itself is a weapon. A system that depends on ignorance cannot survive an educated population. The moment you understand how money truly works, you stop playing their game on their terms. Second, ruthlessly eliminate debt from your life. Every dollar of debt you carry is pure profit for banks that created that money from nothing. Pay off high-interest obligations first. Refuse to finance their machine with your labor. Third, move savings outside the system's reach. Hard assets, precious metals, decentralized alternatives, anything that can't be inflated away by a central banker's keystroke. The secret of freedom lies in educating people, whereas the secret of tyranny is in keeping them ignorant. And fourth, spread this knowledge without hesitation. The money system survives only because people do not understand it. Every person who wakes up to this reality is one less body feeding a machine built to consume them. The system is not broken. It's working exactly as its architects intended. The only question left is whether you'll keep playing along. We followed the money, and the trail leads to one undeniable conclusion. Money is debt. Money is created from debt. Banks profit from loans they conjure out of thin air. The system demands perpetual growth to avoid its own implosion. And the next evolution, programmable digital currencies, threatens to seal you inside a financial cage with no exit. The proof was always there, hidden in plain sight, written in their own policy documents. But here's what terrifies the people at the top most. The system only works as long as nobody questions it. Rome fell when citizens lost faith in debased coins. Every fiat currency crumbles when enough people see through the illusion. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. You now understand more about how money actually works than 99% of the population. That knowledge is dangerous to those in power. Use it, If you made it this far, comment debt from nothing to prove you see through the illusion now. Every government lies. The question is, what are they lying about? The truth is out there. You just have to follow the money. Subscribe if you want to keep digging.